folks, we are back at the Infowarrior with Jason Bermas. CaliforniaSkywatch.com is Roslalind Peterson's website. But we're really not talking about the persistent jet contrails just yet. We've got her for a full 2 hours. We're talking about these upcoming naval drills, which are openly, they're getting a permit for 11.7 million deaths of marine mammals. And that doesn't even count the fish. What is going to be the ecological and economic impact if this goes through?
Well, Congressman Thompson and Congressman Waxman have said that it would negatively impact all of the coastal communities. And because they're already testing in the Hawaiian Islands, they're already testing in Washington, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic. And many of these programs went in without anybody, the public or anyone, knowing about these programs and how many marine mammals would be expended in those areas. Now they're going to try and take this 11.7 million over 5 years here, which is going to devastate the fishing industry. It's going to devastate the tourism for whaling, and ships that go out and people that want to whale watch and do other things. The devastation could be tremendous, and we're talking about Hellfire missiles, bomb blasts. We're talking about mid-range and high-frequency sonar. We're talking about toxic chemicals. They're even talking about using white and red phosphorus, which are banned by the Geneva Convention because they're so highly toxic to marine life as well as humans who might come in contact with the substance, because it can just burn you and will continue to burn you if it gets on your skin until all oxygen from the site is removed. So people who have been exposed in warfare situations, they were just burned right to the bone. So it's devastating chemicals, mercury, lead, depleted uranium, arsenic are a few of just the several hundred toxic chemicals that they're going to be using, some airborne, some will be bomb blasts above the ocean, so that whatever chemicals there are will scatter into the air and move inland. There's going to be underwater detonations, and all of this will wipe out all sea life wherever the bomb blasts occur, whether they're on the floor of the ocean or whether they're, in other words, commuting through and going from one part of the ocean to another on their migration patterns. And they're going to impact fish. They're going to be impacting turtles, everything. And so the devastation from these exercises could be tremendous.
Now, how far off the coastline are they actually going to be? I mean, where are they saying that these drills are going to be taking place?
These drills are going to be taking place over land because Idaho is involved. And then over land in Washington, Oregon, there will be flights over California. And then it's going to be from shoreline testing in some areas and along inland areas, as well as out 250 nautical miles, from the coastline to 250 nautical miles.
I mean, this is just unbelievable to me that they're going to be putting arsenic, mercury, depleted uranium, and all sorts of other goodies in the water supply. And 250 miles isn't that far away, in my opinion, number one. And number two, like you said, it's going to really eviscerate the fishing industry, and consumers are going to have to take on that brunt as well, because we're going to be paying even more for those kind of goods.
Or you won't have them, or some of the chemicals will bioaccumulate like mercury into the food chain. And the bigger fish will eat the smaller ones, and so even now you have to restrict your intake of tuna. So a lot of the a lot of the fish that you would now eat could also be contaminated from the program as well. And the Navy has really no intention of cleaning up all of the stuff that they're using and blowing up. They're just going to leave it on the bottom of the ocean, and they're going to let the counties pay for any cleanup if they happen to wash on shore. So the Navy just says, well, because it's such a pristine area and it's undisturbed, why then it'll spread out so much that no one will notice. Well, of course we're going to notice, because you're going to have all kinds of detonations and bomb blasts and things exploding and blowing up. And they're going to make underwater kind of like sites where they can practice marine warfare, submarine warfare. Submarine warfare. So I don't think that this is going to be benign in the environment, and I don't think that the mitigation measures that have so far been discussed by the Navy are enough to mitigate this particular situation.
Well, how are you combating this, and how can people out there help?
Well, one thing is that the Navy, in other words, feels that it can just do this like they are a dictatorship, and they can just decide, and that public input doesn't mean much to them. So one of the things we have to do is contact our elected officials. We have to begin to say, look, we want congressional hearings. We want to learn more about this project, and we want to right away start to push for a postponement of this until the public has a chance to weigh in and until there are hearings. And Senator Carl Levin would be the one to have a hearing on this, and we can approach Senator Levin about holding hearings about these proposals by the Navy and see if we can protect not only the human population but the fish and the marine mammals, everything that could be impacted by this program. And I think it really needs to be examined by independent biologists, independent people who, in other words, don't have this pressure from the Navy just to fall into line.
And, you know, this fight is not for nothing. I mean, you've been able to stop things in your community before. You were able to stop the fluoridation of your water, and you were telling me a story while we were out there that your mother actually helped stop a nuclear power plant from coming into the area.
Yes, the powers that be, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, decided that they wanted to put a nuclear power plant on Point Arena. And my mother and the editor of the paper and my father, who did the research, all joined forces with a few other people, but mostly my mother, who went to all the meetings. And they were able to have enough facts and documentation to not put a nuclear power plant square on top of a earthquake fault line that runs right through the center of Point Arena, right? And they were going to put the power plant right over the top of the fault line. So
it's genius.
We were able to stop that, my mother was, and the other issue is that we stopped fluoridation. They were going to try to fluoridate the water in our water district, and my mom organized, and the people spoke up, and that project was also stopped dead in its tracks. So people can make a difference, and they can stand, and they can get results if they get together and say no to projects. And I think right now this is what I'm working toward with writing articles in newswithviews.com. Meredith Smith on the coast and myself have joined together, and we go door to door, business to business. I went this past weekend. I drove all the way from Ukiah, California, where I live, all the way up to the Oregon border, and I stopped in every town, every community, handing out flyers and talking to people in Humboldt County, California, about this project. And I only ran into two who knew even the slightest bit about this. No one else did, and they were shocked that this was going to be happening right off their shoreline. I talked to the fishermen who didn't know about this project. Nothing. I was just absolutely stunned that the powers that be and our elected officials had not told the fishermen that this was going to come their way, nor did they give them a list of the toxic chemicals that would be used, and didn't warn them to protect themselves when this program started. Not even that. They didn't even tell the Coast Guard in Fort Bragg, California, who's right in the Noyo Harbor. They didn't tell them about this project and how they were going to protect people who might be out fishing or who might get caught in this chemical maze that they're going to put us through. So it's just one of those things that it just takes hard work and letting people know, and the major newspapers and the major television stations won't cover it. You can watch the program on KTVU Channel 2, Oakland, San Francisco, that aired in March, and if you go there and just type in Navy, why the program will come up and you can watch it as well. But they were the only one to go out on the line and say, we're going to tell this story. No one else in California, none of our elected officials, as far as U.S. senators, will talk to the press or even issue a statement on this. And the only one that's trying to do the sum for all of us is Congressman Mike Thompson. However, he won't ask for congressional hearings on this subject so far, and he is not speaking out on this issue either. And if he would hold a press conference, it would certainly bring this to the attention of the people of Northern California. But that he has elected not to hold a press conference and, in other words, make a statement about how disastrous this program could be for the people here.